Hey there, so I'm Kathy with the Traveling Homesteader and Gyroscope Farm, and today we're going to be talking about something maybe a little different, but totally related to self-reliance. Today we're going to be basically talking about small business, or the finance end of things for self-reliance. Now, many times when people think of self-reliance, they may not think of business. But at least when I got thinking about different things, one of the things that came to mind was having your own business to make your own money and having it be at home. And for me, I've actually been really wanting to do something out of my home well before COVID started. And I think with COVID, it has a tendency to shift people's minds about what they want to really do with their lives, which has kind of made it a kind of a cool time right now to allow people to really pursue what they want. And about 20 years ago, I ended up getting involved with an organization called the Long Tom Grange. And they're a cool group of people out in Junction City who had started hosting this event called the Daffodil Festival. And it usually took place in the third week in March in Junction City, Oregon. And part of what stood out about this was I had just moved to Oregon, and I'd met up with some of the people involved in the Grange, and they said this one lady, Susan DeBate, said, "Hey, do you want to come and be a vendor?" And at the time, there were just a handful of vendors. It was a really rather small event, but it had been going on for a number of years, and it involved people just basically driving out in the country to see the daffodil bulbs that had been started to bloom. And they came to the Grange and got a cinnamon roll and a coffee. And it was really rather pleasant. And from then, it started out as a one-day event, and I was one of, like I said, about 10 vendors, maybe not even. And we basically sold our different wares. Susan, I think, ended up selling some alpaca products she had. There was a woman who had soaps. I had one year sold bags that I had made. So it was kind of different things. From that point up until our most recent one, it ended up growing to where we had between 30 and 40 vendors who did all sorts of handcrafted items. And with that in mind, I ended up becoming the vendor chairperson and finding out that there are so many people in my area, at least, and there's probably so many people in other areas that really have some wonderful talents. And it's not just your normal everyday talent. These are really high-end quality products that you really can't get at Walmart. You can't get at World Market. You can't get these products from commercial stores like we normally see. And part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up now is because it is the season of bazaars. And there's with the everything kind of being up in the air with the supply chain and all that, I'm going to just kind of put in a plug for the people that I know that have small business that make really wonderful products. And now, most of the people that I'll talk about today are local to me. And they do have accessibility via email or websites that you can go to and check them out as well. But one of the things I want to point out is actually this sheep. This sheep is actually one of my more favorite items that I got actually at the Daffodil Festival. And there are two women that were a mother and daughter that made these dolls, and it's painted muslin. That's all it is. So they made these different animals that were really rather fun, and then they dressed them. And this part is painted muslin, and then this is just tea soaked or tea, I don't want to say stained, but they purposely dipped it in tea to give this look. And then they made the different outfits for the different animals. I happen to be interested in sheep, so my mom got this for a birthday gift for me from these two ladies. And since then, these ladies moved on from not only having this business that they were rather successful at, but they in turn moved on to another business where they were able to make products for horses and dogs that were helpful for them. It's a health product line basically for dogs and horses, because they also had dogs and horses, and they had a couple of dogs that had certain allergies that they couldn't find products in the mainstream stores for their dogs, and so they went out and made it. So they ended up having two successful businesses, and their sewing business they aren't doing anymore. They still are doing this other business, and that I'll put at the end, and you'll see some of the other businesses that I'll name either down below or at the end of the video. So with that in mind, you can find some different things. Another woman that I got to know through the Grange, and actually through another farmer's market, made some jams and jellies. She and her daughter would make various different jams and jellies that were really, really nice. In fact, she'd made the most diverse range of jams and jellies that I'd ever seen. They're amazing. I mean, one of them was Dr. Pepper. Another was Mountain Dew. And then she also had some traditional ones like peach and grape and blackberry. And she ended up making these and selling them at farmers markets, at holiday bazaars, out of her home, various different places. And, in getting to know her a little bit, I actually had gone into a farmer's market where I was selling bread, and we had a booth that was sitting next to each other. And as we got talking, she ended up talking to me about why they got started in their business. And basically, it was because she needed to be at home where she could help her husband, who had some failing health. Or I don't know if that he had failing health or if he was just sick for a period of time. But anyway, she had to be at home to help her husband. And having her business where she could cook something and then go out and sell it was really helpful for her. And so the reason why people may do their business is also important to know. It's not just for, for profit. In the case of the two women who did these animals, they were having fun, and then they went into something else to help their animals because they were animal lovers. In the case of the woman with the jams and jellies, she was there to help take care of her husband. Something else to consider, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything strange. So cutlery. Now, there's this particular item I ended up getting, knowing about through an Amish couple that I know. Not Amish, I'm sorry, Mennonite. There's a Mennonite community near where I am located. And there's one couple where he sold these knives and she made baked goods. And I met them years ago, again at the Grange, and they offered the combination of knives and baked goods. And they were just a really nice older couple. At the time, they both would work together, and they were trying to help out. I think some of their children had some health issues, and so they were balancing their small businesses and their family as well. So part of the reason, too, that I go in and talk about some of these is that, in this case, this couple were trying to help themselves and their families, and those are the people that I really like to help as I can, because I'd really rather know the people that I buy from and know that the money is going towards what they need, rather than a big business like Target or, Walmart. Well, yes, there are certain things that you can get there that are on the cheap and that you can't get really anywhere else. Knowing who to go to and like in the case of these knives, being able to help support that family, and knowing that they know where to get these sharpened, they know where to get more for gifts, they know where the supply is. And so that's the thing too, is that knowing who you buy from and that their resources may be greater than what you normally could get elsewhere. Something else that you may consider, and this is really rather strange. So this is actually a stamp that I got, believe it or not, when I was in London. I happened to go to an open market there, and the man I got talking to about this actually had found this stamp and had cut it from a larger piece, and so that's why it's a little bit uh, imperfect, you might say. But I really like the fact that it was a Celtic knot and it had the dragons or snake heads up here, and it just was it had a fun something handmade about it, that it was a one of a kind. There's not really another one like it, or if there is, it's matching to this because the man made it that way. He ended up having a limited amount of resources to find this or other items like it. And so it was really nice to hear a story like that too, and connect with somebody who I may not have otherwise connected with on that particular trip. So again, it's a stamp. You can buy stamps on the cheap that everybody else has too, or you can get something from someone who gets it, that makes it more limited or more personal. Something else to consider is soaps, and right now I'm looking at something and smelling these soaps that are just great. In fact, I call her the soap lady. This is one of the first people I met at that daffodil festival I told you about. Mern Wilson with Badger Mountain Soap, and this is one of her soaps, and it, the fig lychee is really awesome, and I'm gonna tell you, this is the best soap on the planet. I love Mern soaps. I actually, and I'll tell you, I bought this well over a year ago, and the scent is as strong today as it was when I first bought it. Now, and it's soap that that takes off anything, and it keeps your hands nice and soft. I worked with sheep a lot, and so my hands would get dirty and greasy, and this would be the one thing that would take off the dirt and everything in one swoop. But it would also keep my hands nice and soft, and that was really kind of nice. Now, these are some other flavors, I call them, some Gardener's Friend. Now, this particular one has some grit in it, so it helps take take more off. But then another flavor or scent I really like is this Celestial Nights. Now, these, I could sit here and smell these all day. But they're really wonderful soaps, and she has a really nice variety of them. And I mean, she goes out to home shows, she goes to a whole host of different shows, and she makes them all herself. I would bet she makes literally thousands upon thousands of bars of soap a year. And they're all handcrafted. And she's making different ones each year, and she knows just about everything she needs to know to be really a successful woman. And that's why I actually like Mern a lot too, is because she's humble and she knows her stuff, and she has fair prices for such a high quality item. Another soap maker that I kind of know was through, they're called Flat Creek Farm, and this is one of theirs, and it's kind of a fun one. It's a black and white soap called Yin and Yang. It's really kind of fun, and the black is basically with charcoal, and they end up making a solid black one that is tea tree and charcoal, and this is a little bit thinner, and another really fun one, and this is one I learned to make in one of their classes, and I have to laugh because who knew there could be beer soap? And there is. They created this beer soap, and they actually end up using beer in it, and it's really kind of fun. And there's not really too much of a beer smell to it, but when I took the beer soap making class, I saw it. They really used beer. So that's another thing that you can find out about stuff that you're like, really? There's beer in soap? Who knew? So when you find out things from different crafters, you can really find different things that you wouldn't otherwise know. which kind of then leads me to another one that's a little bit different, but it's still, you might say, handcrafted. There's a woman I worked with years ago. Her name is Vicky, and she basically started her own horse breeding business. And now she's become rather successful in the horse world and breeding her own horses that she has links to Sweden and Europe, that she's been able to bring horse stock to the United States and been able to work in America with a variety of different riders and trainers, and been able to create this really kind of nice niche market for herself out of something she loved. She rode competitively back east, and she still is in the Virginia and Florida area, and she continues to ride, but not as much as she used to, I don't think. But she's created this wonderful market for herself with horses in eventing, dressage, jumpers, and she's getting recognized and seen in a variety of places, including the Olympics, which is no small feat. And so things can range as far as business goes, from doing handcrafted soaps to having a handcrafted breeding facility. All of these things are different ways that people can become business owners in a variety of different ways. So with that in mind, I guess I bring this to you today because I want to encourage people to not only make local, but buy local. If you're given the opportunity to help someone else do their business, that would be awesome. And considering the fact that the holidays are coming up and there are more and more issues, you might say, coming up in the news, buying local or buying from people that are in your area really is helpful. Now, another couple that I know that are wonderful potters, his name is T and her name is Nina, and I'm going to give you their link too. She makes these, I guess they're called Raku Happy Fish, and they're really fun. And there's 4 or 5 different facial expressions that the fish have, and they're black and they got polka dots on them. And they're just a ton of fun, and they actually kind of reflect her personality. She's really a fun, outgoing person. And then her husband, T, does these fine pottery, fine pieces of pottery, like bowls and teacups or mugs. And he does fine porcelain work. And between the two of them, they just really are a wonderful couple who've been working on their pottery for years. And they are a great example to me of a small business that's gone through really a hard time this year, but have managed to keep pursuing what they know and love and have stayed afloat. And so, again, those are the type of people that I would like to support because I see them working so hard. So if you have the ability to support people in your area, wherever you might be, please go and do that. If not, you can always look at the information that I'll include here down below, and I'll include a fair amount of information about a lot of different people that you might not have normally seen. So with that in mind, I'm going to just ask you to keep plugging along, doing your thing. But also, if you can share this video and share what you know about other people, that would be great. And if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button below and come check out the Traveling Homesteader and gyroscopefarm.com. And I hope you have a great holiday season, knowing that there are so many different options for you to shop at.